Hello everyone and welcome to the stream. This is Otaku Showboat. Today is Sunday, February 23rd, 2020. If you are watching the VODs on YouTube, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you are so inclined, head on over to twitch.tv/otakushowboat to leave a follow to be notified when I go live Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to approximately 1 p.m. US Eastern Time. You can do all of the social stuff through the links in the description below the video, including supporting Pyandon's mods development at patreon.com/Pyandon and myself at patreon.com/Otaku Showboat. So, today, first thing to note, I'm like, the gland right in here. Yeah, that's sore today. Sort of woke up to that and was not very happy because it's sort of like causing pain in the whole like right side of the face, which is not ideal. Not ideal. Hopefully that will pass somewhat quickly, but yeah, it's there and I can tell it's there. There's something going on. Also, so remember how I talked about last time that we're supposed to have a bit of non-zero amounts of snow and snow accumulation on the ground. First time in like 2 years that we've had actual accumulation of snow in the area. They were predicting a bit like like most people here are metric stuff, so like a bit under a quarter of a meter of snow. So something like 7 to 25-ish centimeters. It's like 3 to 11 inches is what they were saying. I'll give you one guess as to how much actual accumulation we had in this city, in this area. One guess as to how much actual accumulation we had. We had non-zero snow. We had non-zero snow. Uh, the thing is, it also came with rain. So the answer is zero, none, no accumulation whatsoever. We got up in the morning and it was green grass and puddles, not even ice, no ice at all, just wet, So this whole snowstorm was just for our area specifically, for our little bit of the city here on the bay. We just had a mix of rain, sleet, snow just happening over the evening on Thursday. Um, Other areas out a little bit beyond neighboring cities, they had whiteout snow conditions. So, yeah. So much for the 3 to 11 inches we were supposed to get in our area with accumulation. Like, so much for that. We got nothing. So the time without any snow accumulation is going to be continuing on. So it's still been over 2 years now, like 2 years now that we haven't had snow accumulation, which is great. It's fantastic. But especially considering that literally every single government building, like all the schools, shut down their after school activities for this storm to go through. There were no after school activities. The universities closed early and opened late on Friday. So they decided ahead of time that they would open late going into Friday. So Friday morning comes, we have nothing. And all the places are still closed until the afternoon. Great job. Great job. Makes me remember several years ago when I was in school. Several years ago, we had weather predictions that the next day there would be a big snowstorm going through. We would get several inches of snow. They close all the schools down. The next day comes. It is a sunny, cloudless day. I am not joking. They said that we would have a big snowstorm coming through, lots of snow, several inches of accumulation, icy conditions. The next day comes, it was sunny. It was a sunny day, and all of the schools were closed. So we had a day off. Yeah, it just goes to show how well these meteorologists can actually predict the weather around here, especially by the bay. So let's play some Factorio. That sounds like a plan, like a bit of a plan. So what has changed since the last time? Well, I can tell you in particular that I noticed the naughties, the fag knots, phage knots. I just call them the naughties. Yeah, uh their tech requirements have changed to food 1 rather than food 2. So exactly what I talked about last time, that change has been made. So we can now actually take that tech, making yet another creature at this science level, which is a good thing that that's changed, considering I'm about to be recording tomorrow, most likely a video talking about what creatures are available at Grain Science. So yay, it's another thing to tack onto the list. Let us continue. Also, I've noticed that Moondrop work is happening. So that is like an imminent change with the Moondrops. They will be following the other plants' mechanics very soon, like imminent. It's like in the GitHub repos right now. That's what's going on there. So I don't. It's not in this build that I have right now. So it's not exactly live as far as I can tell for the moment, but it is coming. Also, what's happened is that Pi Industry has been updated, which that update is an increase to the speed of the 3 voiding methods. So it's an well, I call them the 3 voiding methods. It's an increase to gas vents, burners, and sinkholes for their speeds. So formerly, the sinkholes and gas vents were 60 items per second. I can actually see now this is telling me 80 per second by that extra 1 crafting speed. So the crafting speed is now 4 on these buildings. They were formerly 3. So now it went from 60 and now it's there. This is saying 80. I think, wouldn't it be 90? I don't know. It's a +1 to the crafting speed, 3 to 4. If that's translating 80, that's fine. So different numbers, which means I have to like recalculate how many I actually need when I build things, because I've sort of gotten used to dividing by 60. Now I have to apparently divide by 80 whenever I need to void something. So that's a pretty massive change. So where we left off was, well, we actually did a lot last time. Like, if you actually like list out what we did last time, it was a lot by comparison to several other streams that we've done. So last time we got the Bodos moving. You can see it's like backed up now because it's actually filled this chest at the moment. So we got the Bodos moving by building out the biomass setup out here, our little self-contained biomass. Then set up this tiny little Nextlet area with a train station several times its size. Also, something here. isn't functional. Why are you... Oh. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, that's important. Oops. I think I missed something. I missed those signals. So let's fix that, because that's important to keep the whole system moving. Yeah. See, this is why we do these things, because we can spot problems in this way by going over what we did last time, and then after the Nexalit stuff, it was setting up Aurum, because our goal for the moment will be rare earth oxide. Short term, rare earth processing. Longer term is artificial blood, because artificial blood is going to be what unlocks beautiful things. Now, we're working on robotics right now, but I do absolutely want to pick up these beautiful things. These beautiful creatures. Hey, and guess what they feed on? Guess what they eat? Look at what they eat. We just started making those. We just started making those. And that's what they eat. They also have a food, which again unlocks that food one. The naughty food, which is all stuff we have. All stuff we have. In fact, this particular food looks very similar, for the exception of the Tufra seeds, to the Ulrich food as well. See, the Ulrich food is tree seeds. This one's Tufra. It's also Relesia seeds rather than actual Relesia flowers. So Relesia seeds instead of flowers. Still has mushrooms. It needs the Tufra seeds rather than the tree seeds. It's still ash. It adds a raw fiber. That's the other thing here. So it's now Tufra seeds and raw fiber for that food. Will that food be necessarily worth making? Will it be worth making currently? Probably not. Probably not. Probably just easier to feed it the Bodos, but you can so you can completely avoid feeding these things the Bodos, which it's 10. Oh, okay. Maybe we do have to make the food because it's 10. 10 Bodos. Um my only question here is, why is Bodos not involved in the making of the food? It should probably be Bodos and not Falgi on the food. Just a thought. Just a just a thought there. Now, what's the recipe for the first one? Um Simple. Do you want it? You will add Bodos to the food. I said replacing the Falgi with the Bodos. I said replacing the Falgi. I said replacing the Falgi. It's only because I think every other creature's food has what they like consume on the basic recipe on their food. Um, so that's just like a consistency thing. Um, if I look at food stage 1, the Ulrich here, I mean, that's ash and flowers. Yes, that's part of the like basic stuff from Ulrich is in the food recipe. Part of the basic stuff from the Augs is in the Aug food recipe. So it's noticeably missing from this food recipe that you have them consume Bodos, but then they're consuming Thawagi in the food. So that's just something I immediately noticed when actually looking at this. And hello! Hello and welcome. I am here, down here, to apparently smash into and completely destroy a a lamp. But no, I am here to fix a problem. First thing. We need... Yeah. These glorious things that actually need to be these glorious things. Followed by one of those. Yeah, that makes it work. It's working now. Just, you know, simple things. Simple things are things that end up, being forgotten on occasion. So now that that's done, we were working on this little construction, this production block here, for getting lots and lots of aurum. Now, I apparently also forgot to do the thing, place the, Oh, I don't have any radars. Let's get radars while we're close to my mall. Are rare earths still the only thing that isn't water and space? Rare earth now has actual methods of getting it biotically. There are now ways of getting rare earth oxide from water and space. So there is... I think the only thing now is regolites. Like, I think regolites are the only thing now, technically, that you cannot get biotically. And that's... But that comes with a huge caveat. What do regolites ultimately make? Helium. And there's absolutely biotic methods of making helium, so there doesn't need to be a way to get regolites for the calcinets. There doesn't need to be, because there is a different biotic method of getting helium out of this. So all of this is like for the dry gas stream. Just by the way, this is all the point is the dry gas stream to go into the helium chain. And you can just get helium now. Out of these guys! Out of these guys! These guys will give you helium. Once you tech into it enough. Yeah, it's here. Right here. Hello. Helium! It's actually better to do the rich gas. And process the rich gas into helium than to get helium directly. You do have to sort of have the infrastructure to process the rich gas into the helium, but you do end up with more helium per gas bladder by going the rich gas route than the direct helium route here. I have done that math at the very least. Also, the chlorine doesn't unlock until stage 3, which is ever so slightly a pain. So the only thing we really get here is CO2 at the initial tech level, which, it's okay. It's okay. Do you at least give me... You give 6 bones. I don't know how that compares to other stuff on the bone count. What about, what do the Ulrich give? I do not know. All I cared about with Ulrich was the bone meal. Hello, Ave. Welcome. Welcome to the Sunday stream, where I am in need of my radars. Where, oh where, am I making my radars? Right here. I've got a few radars saved up. Just a few radars stockpiled for this very important thing that I need to do here. If I actually get in my car, we can start heading back and working towards this. Do I have what I need to work more towards the scaling of my aurum? That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I don't actually know the answer. We'll find out once I head over there and I realize, oh hey, I'm missing XYZ. Let's go back and get more stuff. So you're transitioning to green science. Made the Vraux and the Augs. Come on. You can squeeze through this gap. There you go. Every 10 seconds UPS is dropping significantly. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not getting that at this phase of the game. My system seems to be running at a decent speed. At 2x. Okay. Might drop a little bit under 2x on occasion, and we're like a ways into green. So I would check if you have anything running in the background. Maybe you only have 16 gigs of RAM. That might be legit, that might be a problem. I need to go north, not this way. Game uses much RAM and VRAM. Game uses much VRAM. Much VRAM, so also the graphics card that you're using might play a role in that, in terms of how much virtual memory is being used. Video memory, I should say. Mentioned something about compression. It's yeah, like the mod itself has been compressed, but like for the sprites. But the thing about compression is that it tends to get uncompressed. It's not exactly as it appears. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio between the amount of space on the hard drive to the amount of space in memory, as far as I can tell. Things, yeah, it uses a lot. How much like memory am I using right now? VRAM. That's actually a good question. How much VRAM am I using? So I have a 1080 Ti graphics card with 11 gigs of dedicated GPU memory. It's using 8.1 right now of GPU memory. Actual memory, so I have 32 gigs of actual physical RAM. It's using 26.9 right now. 26.9 total of the whole system. Factorio itself is using 11.7. 11.7 of physical memory for Factorio right now. Yeah. Yeah, 11.7 on Factorio itself with 8.1 of the GPU memory. Now, note that that a lot of that 27.1 that's currently in use is a mix between Google Chrome, Streamlabs, Discord, Google Drive. I've got 3 monitors. I've got technically 3 monitors. I mean, it's 2 monitors and a TV. The 2 monitors are each monitor is 1440p and the TV's 1080p. So it's a lot. I'm running the game in 1440p. What uses more RAM? Factorio or Chrome? Factorio is using more RAM. Chrome is at 3.1, 3.2 gigs, somewhere along those lines. So, anyway. So, scaling. Are you, like, moving? Slowly. Ever so slowly. Here, have things. Have things! Do stuff. Make things. Be glorious. And all that jazz. Yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is make sure that I do something along these lines so I can just copy paste as best I can. Yeah, just download more RAM. You'll be fine. Just download the more RAM. So I wish I had more. For reference, I wish I had more RAM. I would actually prefer having like 64 gigs of physical memory and having a second 1080 Ti to have the one benefit that an SLI setup would have, which is at current state now those setups actually can make use of the full memory of having multiple graphics cards. It used to be that they couldn't actually share memory, but now they can. It's additive, which is a good thing. But then you get the problems of having SLI, which, for reference, causes a lot more problems than it solves most of the time. There are way more issues with SLI type setups. This is like a lot of seeds, just for reference. Also, why do the seeds only stack to 10? That's unhelpful. That is not helpful in the slightest for the seeds to only stack to 10. And for reference, there is no way you could ever pay me to use a Mac for any purpose whatsoever. Like, there is no chance in hell that I will use a Mac for any reason. Particularly because despite the performance differences, which there are in terms of media creation between Macs and PCs, the difference in cost is such that I can build an equivalent system that's not a Mac for less cost than the Mac. Like, it's a very simple calculation to be made. I need more nanobot ammo. Like, you can just build a more powerful PC and get the same output as the Mac, the same speeds as the Mac, and then you have the not Mac ability to do other things as well outside of just the content creation. So you get a more versatile machine in the end. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Macs. That's my thoughts exactly on Macs and why one should never choose to do Mac when a more powerful PC option is available. Now, if you just so happen to need an incredibly powerful system specifically for the types of things that the Macs are good at, like mega video editing, for example, like you're doing like actual movie production quality video editing type things, maybe it would be a better option under the circumstances of infinite budget and having the need for all of that audio processing in real time. So yeah, like at broader, big, huge scale, where money isn't as much of an issue, then sure, the Mac will be fine. Especially when you're not using it for anything else. When you're not using it for anything else besides the specific purpose that you're getting that machine for. For a general purpose machine that you also need to do some audio and video work on, just do the PC every time. Every time. That saved you a lot of money for not buying games. Yeah, that helps. a bit as well. You know, just not buying the games. Just you know, the not buying of games. Sure, I'm sure that helps a lot. You know, Windows emulators do exist, but you know what also exists? Mac emulators. They also exist. Oh, and you know, most of the time you could just get away with using a Linux distro on a PC for similar results because they're close enough to Macs. So you could dual boot with a Linux distro. I mean, my PC technically has a Linux distro on it. Buy the cheaper Windows and install Linux. That is a very valid option. Yeah, it's based off the same thing between Mac and Linux distros. They're ultimately the same at their deepest core level. But yeah, and technically I do. My desktop computer technically has what even is it? I've completely forgotten which Linux distro it is, but I have a distro of Linux on this PC that I could start up in it. It's installed on one of my hard drives, uses up half the hard drive. Yeah, distro's irrelevant. Doesn't actually matter. I think it's Ubuntu. That's the one. Ubuntu. All right, so we're basically just, you know, waiting for things to happen at the moment. We're just like waiting for this to move. In the meantime, while that builds up, we can actually go and start, you know, building rare earth processing, getting that built, so we don't just sit around and wait forever on the Aurum positive feedback loop to happen. For it to move. I mean, we all make a mistake of buying something that's completely overpriced for what it is. Everyone will make that mistake at least once. But as long as you learn, and then don't do it again. For example, my lesson. My lesson was never buy Alienware. I learned this lesson after buying an Alienware laptop. An Alienware M17X that was about $1,700 back in 2000 whatever 9, 10, some 9, I think 2009. I bought an Alienware M17X. It was the first laptop computer that I ever bought. It was the first ever computer that I bought, was an Alienware M17X. And it was okay for about a year. A year later, I started getting blue screens of death because the graphics card was dying. And you know what killed the graphics card? I know specifically what killed the graphics card. It was the video game Empire Total War. Empire Total War, because of the heat that it caused on the graphics card. The heat from running Empire Total War killed my Alienware M17X's graphics card. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. It killed the graphics card, and basically after that, I basically went around just saying that I bought a $1,700 hat because every Alienware laptop, at least at the time, came with an Alienware hat, and I would wear the hat everywhere. So I would say that I got a $1,700 hat out of it. Needless to say, I've never bought an Alienware Dell system ever again. What I ended up doing was replacing it with a iBuyPower custom built desktop. And I got like all the extra like packaging in it, like the interior packaging to make sure that it wouldn't break during shipping. And I got that desktop. That was my first desktop. I stuck with the desktop throughout, and that from that base of that custom desktop, I've upgraded it over time to the point where every single piece of my original desktop is gone. It is no longer part of my system. I have a completely custom system now, currently, but it started off of that base of that iBuyPower desktop originally. But I've changed every single component in it since then. Nothing remains, I think. Yes, including the case. The case is different. The case is very different from the original case. So yes, including the case, which I basically you replace the case, you rebuild the whole system. So yes, I have rebuilt the whole system. I have replaced motherboard and CPU. I've put different cooling on. I've done RAM, different RAM. Of course, that's like the easiest thing you can do. Different SSDs, hard disk drives, the graphics, all that stuff. But when I originally bought the desktop, it was a Sandy Bridge 2600K processor. I think that was the number. And it was a NVIDIA 470. 470. Do you remember the 400 series of graphics cards? Do you remember the problem with the 400 series of graphics cards? And do you remember the problem that Sandy Bridge had on the original motherboards? Do you remember the original the thing about the Sandy Bridge motherboards on release? They recalled the motherboards of Sandy Bridge. They recalled the motherboards for Sandy Bridge, and do you know why? It's because the chipset that controls the SATA ports would melt and would cause the SATA ports to no longer function over time. It was supposed to take like 3+ years for that to happen. Yes, I know, right? That's like, what? But it's true. This actually happened. It would something inside would melt on the chipset and cause the SATA ports to no longer function. Specifically the SATA 3 ports, not the SATA 2s, the SATA 3 ports, the fast ones. And of course, melting. And you know where that chipset lives? Right under your graphics card. It lives under the graphics card. So 400 series GTX graphics card, known for its heat output. On the 400 series. Extremely high power draw and heat output. On top of a chipset that's prone to melt and kill some SATA ports on your motherboard. My system was in the mail when the recall of the motherboards happened. I would have had to ship the desktop back to have them replace the motherboard and then ship it back to me, and I wasn't going to wait that amount of time. I figured that this would take several years to happen. It'll be fine. 6 months later, 6 months later, I lose all of my SATA 3 ports on the motherboard. 6 months. Not even a year passed, and I did not have my SATA ports anymore. My SATA 3 ports. I had to get like a an expansion card for extra SATA ports to, and this made me like have to do interesting things to upgrade my storage on the computer. This caused issues with being able to have more drives. Like, I make videos. I needed more storage space. So, yeah.